Hi everyone. Um, we have an interesting rum from a little bit of the past here today, and that is the Jamaican Coruba. Now, Coruba is an interesting rum in the sense that it's actually made by J. Ray. Um, and my initial research back in 2013 when I looked at this one called the Cigar was that the bulk stock was shipped over to Switzerland, and then a company called the Compagnie Rumière du Bal, or the rum company of Basel, which is what Coruba stands for. They did the blending and the mixing and so on. But this bottle specifically says that it's all being done in Jamaica. So for the moment, let's take that as a given. It is a little bit old, but the current versions are still very much in the same vein. They're made by J. Ray. They are sold under license, primarily in New Zealand, apparently. It doesn't seem to be something that is sold particularly well anywhere else in the world, except perhaps Jamaica, and occasionally you can find one in Canada. This one was actually picked up in Europe for me some years ago. So overall, it is a Jamaican rum. It corresponds very similarly to the way that Appleton's rums tend to be, which is sort of like middle of the road. They're not too weak and they're not too strong. Uh, Coruba still does make a fair amount. This is a 12-year-old ex-bourbon barrels, the usual stuff. There are, however, I think a 15 and an 18-year-old, which I've never actually seen, and there are others further down the line. There's one with a very wild colored label that I thought was really kind of nasty. It's bottled at 40%. There's really nothing very much to know about it because the information is so scant. It's just one of those rums that you find in duty-free shops, in occasional rum shops here and there that, especially in Europe, that sell, the boutique kind of stuff. Uh, Dirk Becker's store in Berlin, Rum Depot is one example of that. The online stores like Rum Attitude and so on. You can find a fair bit of it. The question then arises, well, is it any good? It's called a cigar, so you would expect certain things. Well, yeah, it is. It isn't too bad. I kind of like it. It is not for 40%. You really aren't getting very much. That's really my problem with it. It's a bit too sharp for 12-year-olds. You're kind of expecting something just a bit more complex, a bit more gentle. Granted, the Eldorado kind of like they put some stuff into their things, but there are others like the Cockspur 12. There's the Dorley's 12. There's the Appleton 12. There's a lot of other 12s around the place. I would have to say this one is at the bottom of the heap. Partly it's because it's so sharp and it's kind of quite astringent. It really doesn't seem to present as a true 12-year-old, although I have no reason to doubt why it is or it isn't. It does smell somewhat of caramel, toffee, licorice, molasses, brown sugar. It's got a little bit of cardboard in there, just a touch of salt and paint, and it's okay. More than that, on the palate is I think where this thing fails the most, because this is where all that they call it the cigar, and they never actually explain why. But for my money, there is really a tobacco influx here, but it's not tobacco of sort of like the aromatic cigarillo type of things that I really do enjoy, but it's something like a dried old cigar that has seen better days and is way past its sell-by date, even within the plastic. It has some smoke, it has a little bit of cardboard, it has peeling wallpaper on old abandoned houses. It's that kind of shit, right? So behind all of that, there is some licorice. There is a little bit of fruits, grapes, raisins, that kind of thing. There is a little bit of florals, which is really quite nice, just hanging around in the background there, not making any mischief. Overall, I'd have to say it's not a bad rum in and of itself, but this for a 12-year-old to be using it as a mixing rum is really kind of silly, because to me this is all it's good for. I would not. No, sorry. I wouldn't really sip it with enjoyment. You can, of course you can, right? But it's a bit too much all off the reservation, a bit too much salt, not enough sweet and sour to balance that off, and that smoky, dead cigar flavor really just doesn't work for me. So, for my money, this is a 75-point rum, and that's exactly how I scored it. If you can still find it, I think the modern iterations may even be a little bit better, but I haven't seen any for a while, and if I ever were to do, then I would certainly give it a shot. For the moment, I'd give this a very cautious endorsement. Of course, it's a rum, it's from Jamaica. It does have its thing, but not for me. So 75 points, and we will see you next time.